Welcome into another edition of Spits and Suds. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. Thank you so much for supporting and joining us today. We're so glad to have our weekly visit with our NHL insider from EP Rinkside, from Shap Shots, from D Magazine, from the Detroit News, actor. I'm just running out. I need to write all this stuff down because the resume is getting so big, folks. But he's also your Stars insider. He's Sean Shapiro. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good today. How are you, bud?
I'm doing great. All right. So it's really interesting. David Castillo joined us last night when we were talking about the victory, and we had a great show. But the feedback that I got most that I wanted to ask you about was from an NHL perspective, and we'll get to the game in a second, Stars fans. But the feedback I got most, I talked about the delayed start times in the NHL. And I'm wondering if the league will do anything about it, because last night was an example, and I know Rangers Devils, but you're already in Dallas at an 8:30 puck drop, which is late, and now all of a sudden it's almost 9 o'clock when you dropped that puck last night.
Yeah, what was it? The official drop start time was what, 8:52 technically?
Yeah,
I think.
and Sean, this
last
happens for
night.
7 o'clock games too, where now 7 o'clock games are running to 7:10, 7:15, and I'm not trying to get on a pulpit. I'm just saying, like, then call it 7:15.
Yeah, what it is essentially, for a quick explanation for people, right? Like, it's all about quote unquote TV windows, right? Like tonight's game, like there's games tonight that start at 7 o'clock or that start at 7 that are going to start at 7:08. We've got some that will start at the national TV ones. Sometimes have a little bit of leeway to push back a little bit further. Like, and it wasn't related to Rangers Devils, the delay of that game, to be clear. It was just, that was always the intended start time was always 8:52 last night. That was always going to be the plan with TNT and everything like that. So, unfortunately, these get promoted and talked about with TV windows when I feel we don't do enough to give we don't do enough to actually, the person buying tickets, we don't do enough to think about them in the moment there and everything like that. Um, it's kind of ridiculous. Now I think aside from the NFL, I think I don't know about baseball, but I know the NBA has this problem sometimes too. So
Yeah.
you would know more on baseball, whether baseball
baseball's
does or
really
not, too.
accurate. Baseball and football, almost
Yeah.
to the T they start. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically the NBA and the NHL where they do this. And I like even baseball, right? Like they'll announce it's like a 108 first pitch.
Yeah.
Like it might look weird on the schedule, like 108, but it's still 108, right? Like it'll be delivered at that time. So maybe from a perspective of like, maybe we need to be starting to like list puck drop times. Maybe if we started doing
Yeah.
it using that terminology, it would. I don't think it'll change it. I don't think we're going to get these games are starting quote unquote on time. They're just starting on they're starting on the schedule that no one else has shared. So we're getting one piece of information when it's really something else. So
Right. And Sean, I don't blame the club for doing this, but they also reminded, people, get in your seats early, folks. And it's like, well, if I get in my seats where my ticket says, I'm waiting 20 minutes. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just interesting because I mentioned it at the end of last night's show, and the feedback that I got was interesting. And it's like, you're right. So we'll keep track of that. You had a great article on Shap Shots after last night's game titled Wyatt Johnston has shades of Hyman and Lettinen and is doing something Madonna-esque. A look at the Stars forward who reached the 30-goal mark last night. And I thought you did a great job as far as showing the goals that Wyatt Johnston has scored as far as areas on the ice. And it really is kind of a familiar look at what Zach Hyman has done as well.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing because there's like parts where I think sometimes when we get into the player comp, we try to comp everything about players. And so this is, to be specific, right? This is about one thing that Zach Hyman has done effectively well this year is just he goes to the net better than anyone in the league. He scored more than 50 goals because of it, and it's great. And Wyatt Johnston's game is very similar in that Johnston has a little bit more range. I think he's going to be a better player in the long run. Remember, he's only 20 years old. He's going to be better defensively, more of an all-around guy. But at the end of the day, what's one of the reasons why Johnston has popped and become a 20 goal scorer as a 19-year-old and now a 30 goal scorer as a 30 goal scorer this year is the fact that he stops at the net. He does one of the most simple things, and it's not it's not difficult, but he does it so well. And sometimes mastering the basics of something are incredible. Like just doing that it's really impressive. And for me, it was fitting last night when Johnston scores his 30th in a game against Hyman and everything like that. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Also, you wrote an article a few weeks back that the reason Jake Oettinger needs to stay in net, what a difference we've seen. I would encourage all Stars fans to go on social media today, if you're a part of Twitter X, and just put in Jake Oettinger on the search, because you'll see an amazing moment where Jake Oettinger gets to speak to his idol Henrik Lundqvist in the post-game interview, and it was terrific. Two things came out of that I wanted to talk to you about. As far as Jake Oettinger, he actually mentioned to King Henrik that him and goalie coach Jeff Reese went back and watched Lundqvist's tape and made some adjustments based on what Henrik used to do as far as being deeper in the net. And the other thing that came about that the second point I wanted to talk to you about was they asked him about the impact of Chris Tanev, and Jake Oettinger's reply was, guys, have you seen my goals against since he's been on this team? And I think that says so much when a goalie is, I mean, he's going to prop up his D-men, but specifically talking about that, I think it just shows what an impact Tanev has had.
Yeah, it is. First, let's talk about the Lundqvist one. One of the things about Henrik Lundqvist's style and impact on goaltending, he played very deep in the net. And one of the reasons Lundqvist did that was he had a Hall of Fame career because of it, was his ability to getting that extra half second to read pucks, to read pucks through traffic, for tracking and everything like that. It's similar to, for a baseball analogy, it's similar to a batter probably setting up deeper in the box to get that extra half second to get a read on a pitch, right? And that's something that Lundqvist did at a masterclass level in his career. And it's something that with Oettinger, with his size and his reflexes, he can do that he definitely should be pulling out of that book. So that's kind of to give an idea of why the deeper in the crease thing kind of plays out. As far as the Tanev's part, Tanev's impact is the Stars since the Tanev trade. I haven't accounted for the shots last night because there was like 35 or whatever it was, but before going into last night, the Stars, since the Tanev trade, the Stars have only allowed 24.1 shots per game. And that's the best in the league during that stretch. And it's amazing how it's not just the minutes when a guy is on the ice when he comes in. It's amazing what happens when a guy comes in and he slots everyone better. And all of a sudden it allows everyone to slot into a better role, and the entire defense just kind of gets better from there. And that's the Tanev impact.
Yep.
And it's Oettinger obviously knows that, and he's given a lot of credit to Tanev, but also let's call it what it is. Jake Oettinger has found his own groove too. So he got some help, but at the same time, Oettinger deserves some more credit himself too for what's been happening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I don't know if it's the Tanev impact, Sean, as far as block shots, but I noticed the team defense, the back checking, that first goal by the fourth line was so impressive, stealing the puck and coming down and making a real nice kind of give and go. And then I look at the goal that was saved by Jamie Benn, coming back and getting on his knee and reaching out as far as he could, which stopped a puck from going in the net. So just overall, I just feel like defensively, I just feel like it's more of a well-rounded team right now.
It is. It is. It's a team that's rounding into form, and they're playing for something right now too. Where um, they're playing for a number one seed in the West. They're playing for a potential regular season championship. And I know, as much as kind of there's some curses or whatever people like to think about with the President's Trophy, it is a regular season championship. That is something that when the Stars won one in '99, they also won the Stanley Cup too. So it's they're playing for something, and they're rounding into form. And it's, you look out west and you look across the league and you're like, you know what? If I had to pick a team right now, why not Dallas? It's hard to find the flaws with this team right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because the TNT crew was talking about last night. We probably should talk more about Dallas. National shows are now talking, we should probably start talking about Dallas. So it's really good to see. All right. You mentioned that the West is a gauntlet. We've talked about it, but how often are you looking at the standings and saying, okay, what would be a good first round matchup?
I mean, you have I think you're scoreboard watching all the time. It's just a natural human thing right now. But at the end of the day, it's something could change. Like, there's too much that could change right now. Like, we know that, like, I feel pretty confident in saying that it's probably going to be Nashville or LA that are going to be the wild card teams. But both those teams, like, they're a point apart. It's going to change all the time. So you can start to speculate and think about this matchup versus that matchup or whatever. But right now, you could spill a lot of ink and then it not happen all at the same time. And I think that's kind of one of the nice things, where you're just kind of focused on, okay, the biggest goal right now is, can you make sure, if you right now, the Rangers have 106 points with 6 games to play, starts with 105 to 6 games to play. If you get more points than the Rangers do, and if you get more points than the Rangers do over the next 6 games, the road to the Stanley Cup goes through Dallas. And that's just the reality. Every single series you will be starting at home. Every single series you'll be starting at home. Every game 7 would be in your building. I think that's where you that's how you keep your own focus here, as opposed to worrying about how the jockeying below you in the conference right now.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of fans might not think about it, but for the franchise, I want the top spot because I want the max gate, because I know that playoff gate means a lot to ownership. So that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I understand, and I have right now in DFW, we kind of can't get on the pulpit based on what the Rangers did on the road, winning the World Series, which had never been done and probably will never do again. But at the same time, when these things come down to game 7s, I certainly will always take my chances at home.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge advantage. And also, let's be frank about it, right? Western Conference travel in the NHL is not easy. It's less wear and tear on your body if you're not getting on the road to LA to start the season. If you every single round you're getting those couple days to refresh in your own bed and getting ready for, I really think starting at home is such an advantage, because of the time off before to heal and just have normalcy, as opposed to having to pack up and get going for the series like the road team does.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. In the NHL last night, and it's one of the talks on social media, the 5-on-5 brawl.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think? Very rare.
To me, I'm gonna so there's gonna be some quote unquote hockey traditions that aren't gonna like my opinion on this, but to me, I know a lot of people were talking about hockey this morning, and that's great and all of that, but to me, that was a sideshow, right? Like, if you want to have Rempe and McDermott settle their score, fine. But if I'm a hockey fan, I want to watch the best possible product. Is it really the best possible product when you have 8 guys tossed two seconds into the game, and now both teams are down to 4 defensemen? Yeah. Like last night, right? Like, you look at that game, like last night, and you had Simon Nemec, you had Jonas Siegenthaler and Simon Nemec play 26 minutes. You had Brendan Smith play 28 minutes. You had Luke Hughes play 32 minutes for the Devils. For the Rangers, you had Gustafsson played 29 minutes. Fox played 29 minutes. Schneider and Lindgren both played 27. Like, I don't want to watch hockey where I have to watch second and third pairing defensemen play almost 30 minutes. Like, to me, like, if you want to have McDermott and Rempe get it out, fine. I'm okay with that. Whatever. To me, it wasn't hockey. Like, it's the whole sideshow of it. And this is something where my opinion on fighting in hockey has greatly changed probably in the last 8 or 9 years, when I kind of realized that I've watched so much college hockey, and I love college hockey, and I've watched so much international hockey, and we call it the best version of hockey, and I've watched it, and I never missed the fights. And I think, like, today's NHL, like, it happens rarely, and then sometimes the pro fighting crowd will be like, well, I've never seen someone get up and leave during a fight. Well, I never saw somebody get up in the middle of a car crash either. That doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. So like, to me, like, I guess I'm in a bit of the minority on this, because, like, I see everyone hooting and hollering about it and everything like that. And at the end of the day, for me, it was like, okay, it led to a worse hockey game. Like, the hockey game itself became crap. So I think I might be in the minority today on that, because it's, to me, if you want to watch organized chaos and you want to watch fighting, we have combat sports. We'll watch that. Like, to me, like, fine. I'm not a fully abolish fighting from the game guy. I've not gone that far, but if you want Rempe and McDermott to go off the draw, fine. But it's the whole thing was just, it wasn't, to me, it was a sideshow, and it's not why I would tune in to watch hockey. And
what I was interested too, Sean, was the two coaches jawing at each other. And my thought was, you guys kind of created this by putting the lines out there, and there had to be some discussion. You can't tell me that everyone matched up at center ice and then it was the conversation. Had to happen during pregame skates, something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, here's how this starts. Okay. This starts with Travis Green. Okay. As the road coach, you declare your lineup first, right? So Travis Green makes the decision to start McDermott. That's his decision to start McDermott. And then so first it's in Travis Green's hands to start Curtis McDermott, who is not a great hockey player. And you know what? Peter Laviolette could have seen that lineup that New Jersey started, and he said he could have rubbed his hands together and said, oh, yes, let's throw out Artemi Panarin. Let's put out Vincent Trocheck. They're starting a bad hockey line. Let's go get them right off the faceoff. Like, Peter Laviolette could have made a hockey decision with a great matchup off the opening faceoff, because the Devils decided to send out an enforcer. Instead, he sends out a guy who I don't want to take anything away from Matt Rempe. He's played hockey at a high level, but, like, he can't fight. He's not even a great fighter. He's gotten his ass beat every single time.
He needs some off-season training.
He's not a great hockey player. He's not a great NHL player. I want to be clear on that. Like, he's obviously reached the AHL level at playing hockey pretty well, but he goes, and so Peter Laviolette could have been like, you know what? Let's go dominate this first shift. Let's score some goals. Let's go right to their jugular. They want to put Curtis McDermott on the ice. Great. I'm going to put Artemi Panarin on the ice. Instead, he puts Matt Rempe on the ice, and it's a sideshow. And like, this is on the coaches. And to me, I try to be like, I know there's people who are going to dislike my opinion on this, and I'm fine with that. To me, I don't need it. And I think it takes away from what could have been a better product on the ice, what could have been a more fun game. So yeah, that's just my view on it.
You know, the one thing I will say, and it hasn't slowed them down, and that's unfortunate, even though many people say Laviolette probably had a conversation with Rempe, is I do appreciate that everyone's saying he needs to slow down. And that, to me, shows concussion awareness. Now, whether he does it, but, I mean, he obviously needs to. But to me, the fact that people are pointing that out means that some education has happened in the game. where everyone's saying this needs to stop, whether it be the deaths.
Yes. But as you were just about to say, right? Chris Simon died 2 weeks ago.
I know.
Like, it's,
Yeah.
it's to me, and this is kind of it's a bit of the hockey media landscape that's interesting, where I see all these, and this is going to be kind of a commentary on that, where I see a lot of like hockey media people like, hey, raw, yeah, look at this. And these are the same people who 2 weeks ago are like, hey, we didn't do enough for Chris Simon. The game didn't do enough for Chris Simon. Do you wonder why the game didn't do enough for Chris Simon when the head of when all these hockey reporters are seeing a fight off the opening faceoff and like are gathering around like schoolyard kids? Like,
Yeah.
you can't have both, right? If you want to just like if you want to go if you want to go to the Coliseum and you want to see the duel to the death, if you want to see that, call for that. Okay, we had that. That was an arcade. That was an entire society had that as their had that in the Romans, right? Like call for that. Okay, do for that. Like, you can't on one hand be like, oh, I want to see the I want to, like, you can't be the people saying the league didn't do enough for Chris Simon, and then 2 weeks later jumping all over this stuff and thinking it's the greatest thing for hockey. That's where I find my moral compass struggles with that.
Makes sense.
So.
And finally, we have Chicago on a Saturday afternoon tilt, followed by a nice tilt that could decide the Central Division on Sunday night. Colorado, Dallas, in Denver. And the question is, a lot of times the starter will go first, but I'm guessing DeBoer will go Wedgwood on Saturday, Oettinger on Sunday.
Yeah, let me look. It's Chicago on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean,
you shouldn't.
We
go
also know
Wedgwood
we know that Jake loves those big games too. We know that he gets fired up by those big games and everything like that. So I personally would. That's kind of the way I would play it if I were him too.
Yeah. Yep. And we also want to throw out, it's the Frozen Four, and college hockey has gotten a lot of publicity for good reason. And it's awesome to see. There's a lot of talk too about top seed, Sean, getting kind of a home ice advantage, which I like, actually, just for the simple fact that some of these arenas, they're not packing the house just because it's neutral sites. And if it's closer to one of those teams, obviously they draw more. But for the first couple of rounds, I understand it gives an advantage, but let's fill the house. Let's show how crazy and the madness of college hockey. But some great college hockey happening this weekend. Be really interesting if Boston College matches up against BU in the finals. A lot of future pros on both those teams, but we'll see what happens. But the Frozen Four is going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I love college hockey. I think it's something where it's such a great product. It's something that has really grown and gotten better too. And we should do next week. We should talk a little bit more going in. Maybe we can talk a little bit more specifically next week before, but we're seeing some of the best of the best, and it's going to be. It's going to be a fun time.
It certainly would. And, we'd have to find the right rink, but it would be interesting. The question that we'll ask next week is, could a Division I team show up in Texas? Because that would be fascinating. And if you say, Gavin, that's not going to happen, okay, Arizona State is pretty darn good, and they pack the house. So we can certainly talk about that and college hockey. Sean, you're an absolute beast. Quick plug for the movie. Where can people find the movie that you are one of the stars in?
Yes, go to thelategame.com, and that'll take you right to thelategame.com, and that'll take you right to the link to watch it on Prime Video, and you can watch it tonight. You can, when's a perfect time to watch it? Like on Sunday or Saturday, like type of night where you're waiting for your team to play, and they've got like the 9:30 start, and you need a way to kill that time between 8 and 9:30. Fits really well in those windows right there.
There you go. You can do the double dip as far as Amazon. You can watch the movie, and while the credits are rolling, buy the book We Win Here, which Sean authored. So
You are so smooth on those reads, and I don't even give them to you. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you so much. I know you have limited time, as always, with everything you have going on, but it's great to hear from you. Great that Stars hockey is. I just can't wait. David and I were talking last night. Let's go. Let's get the playoffs going. This will be amazing. So can't wait to talk to you during the playoffs. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Gavin.
Thanks, everyone, for listening and supporting Spits and Suds. Like I said last night, we had a record March. Can't wait to bring you a record April. More guests to come. It's been a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you hopefully this weekend right here on 105.3 The Fan.